Welcome, this is Professor Zayed. Today I'm going to go over some CompTIA A+ practice questions to help you pass your CompTIA A+ exam. Again, this is Professor Zayed. I teach CompTIA, I teach management courses, teach data privacy. And on my YouTube channel, I post videos, random videos about the topics I teach. Today I am going to go over some practice questions from the CompTIA A+. Before I do that, I want to give a brief overview of CompTIA. CompTIA is a nonprofit trade association that provides several professional certifications in the IT industry. The A+ certification is provided by CompTIA and is recognized by the American National Standards Institute. The CompTIA A+ certificate is simply the foundation for your career in IT. So I'm going to go over some practice questions. This is my website here, Professor Zayed, if you'd like to learn more. And you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel. The questions I have here that I prepared to go over. Question one, two wireless nodes that are communicating directly with each other without any intermediary systems or hardware are using what wireless mode? As you know, the CompTIA A+ is going to go over some of the questions, going to be multiple choice questions. And the best way to basically talk about these, to answer these questions in your exam is to do the process of elimination. So let's go over those options right now. So we talked about if you've been studying for the CompTIA A+, you would be learning about something called infrastructure mode versus ad hoc mode. And so there are two choices here that actually make sense, but the choice one, it says ad hoc mode. The other one is called Bluetooth, and then number C is infrastructure mode, and then D, 802.11 AC, which is a wireless standard. So you have to choose one answer in this case. What mode does actually allow two wireless nodes that communicates directly with each other without any intermediary systems? So when you read that question, you have to read it very carefully and then do the process of elimination. So and see which ones make sense. In this case, we know that the two modes that we're talking about for wireless network, one is called infrastructure mode, which basically means all devices on a wireless network communicate with each other through an access point, so a wireless access point. So it's a centralized network, mode basically. So in this case, we're talking about you have a wireless access point, and then you have multiple devices connected to it. That's called infrastructure mode. So we know that's not the case from that question. Two wireless nodes communicated directly with each other. There's nothing in between them. There's no intermediary system or a hardware or device that connects those wireless devices to each other. Bluetooth, we know what Bluetooth is, and basically it creates a personal area network. So that doesn't also work in this case. So Bluetooth is basically a wireless technology standard, which is used for basically exchanging data between a device and a mobile device, for example, and a headset, for example. So, and it does that for a short distance, for using shortwave wavelength, radio waves. So we know that's not the case. And then you have 802.11 AC, it's a wireless standard. 802.11c is basically deals with the distance and the throughput, the speed of the wireless, the data, and also the distance. So the answer in this case is ad hoc mode. So A is the right answer. Question number two, what device centrally connects wireless network nodes in the same way that a hub or a switch connects wired Ethernet PCs? So we know in a wired network, we have a switch that all devices in a local area network connect to. Equivalent to that in a wireless area and a wireless network, what is the device that essentially connects all those devices like a switch for wireless network? Is it a Bluetooth adapter? Is it B, a wireless NIC, a network interface controller card, or is it SSID, or is it WEP? And WEP stands for wireless area wireless area, or it's a router basically. Okay, so basically the answer here, so wireless application protocol, it's a standard, right? So the answer here is, in this case, is D, wireless application protocol, or maybe a protocol to connect wireless devices to each other. So we know a wireless NIC is basically allows the computer to have a wireless, to receive a wireless signal, like a laptop or you know, for example, or a tablet, that allows that device to receive a wireless signal. SSID is basically meaning that the name of the wireless network. So if you have a wireless network at home, and you know, it's simply the technical name for the network name. So when you connect to a wireless network in a coffee shop or your house, SSID stands for Service Set Identifier, or basically the name of the network that you connect to. So that's not the case. So the answer here is D, web. Question number 3, Stevens, Windows system can't connect to the internet, and he comes to you, his PC, as a PC tech, for help. You figure out that it's a DHCP problem, and what program should you run to troubleshoot his DHCP problem from the client side. So if you don't know what DHCP is, DHCP stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, which basically a server that assigns an IP addresses to devices. So whenever you connect to a device or to a router, either a wireless router or connect to a wired network, it basically assigns you an IP address for you to be able to connect to the network. So so DHCP server basically means that it's a server that allows you to receive an IP address. So what is the command or a program that you can run in here? And it says in the question here, it says Windows system. So it's a command that you have to run in Windows to be able to troubleshoot that. So it's not a Linux, it's a Windows. So we know if you run command prompt, CMD, and you type ipconfig, and in here enter, right? In here is going to give you the IP address, and it's going to give you all the information you need to know about your network. So ipconfig is basically the command or the program you can run to troubleshoot your DHCP for Windows machines. ifconfig is the same command you run, but you run in Linux. So so you should know your commands in a command prompt, what commands you need to run. So it'll be very helpful. So the answer to this question here, question number 3, is ipconfig. So again, when you get a question like that on the exam, you need to look at the options and see which ones actually don't make sense. You do the process of elimination. In my class, I teach these type of things that you can do, which basically look at the options that don't make any sense. There is no command called config, so you can eliminate that. B, which is ifconfig, that's a command you run in Linux, but the question here, it talks about Windows system. So you need to pay attention to these types of details when you get a question like that. Question number 4, which utility is useful in identifying a program that is hogging the processor, the CPU? So again, you need to know your tools, Windows utility tools, and so that you can run to be able to look at the processor and look at the system performance and things like that. So it talks about here A, task manager, B, device manager, C, system monitor, or D, system information. We know if you right click on the taskbar here and you click on a task manager, and in here you can actually go and you can check to see what is a program that is consuming a lot of your CPU resources. So you can run that as a task manager. You can go to right click and you can on taskbar go to task manager right there, and you can expand that. You can look at the programs running, the processes running in the background. You can look at performance. It will tell you the CPU, how much percentage of the CPU is running in the background. And you can look at the app history and things like that. So here, you can look on the percentage here of memory. So each process is running in the background, like I'm using Zoom right now. and it's consuming a lot of my CPU processes and resources and memory and so on and so forth. So you can look at Task Manager and you can basically check to see if anything running in the background that is slowing down your system. You can also check to see if how the performance are doing when it comes to your CPU, your memory, and so on, right? So if anything is consuming, taking a lot of resources, you can close that from Task Manager. You can also take a look at the services running in the background. You can do the startup applications. You can also disable some of those applications as well. So we know the answer to that question is a Task Manager. It's a tool that you can use, or a utility in Windows that you can use to identify the program that is hogging the processor. As we know, Device Manager is basically a device manager is basically it's an applet or a utility in Windows in control panel. Is by Microsoft Windows operating systems, and it allows users to view and control basically like the hardware attached to your computer. So you can on the start menu here, you can right click, you can go to device manager here, and in there you can see the hardware. You can take a look, you can right click on a particular hardware, like your camera, your battery, and things like that. You can look at the drivers. If you expand this here, you can take a look at the drivers. If the device is not working, it will give you an indication here in Device Manager. So this basically has to do with the hardware devices. So we know the answer to that is Task Manager on question number 4. Question number 5. It talks about, it says here, Bob is concerned that his new PCI or video capture card device driver is causing startup problems. Which utility enables him to see if Windows recognizes the driver? So you have a PCI Express card. Now you have a video capture card. PCI Express stands for Peripheral Component Interconnect Express, and it's basically an interface standard connecting your high-speed components on your motherboard. So you can buy an external video card or sound card, and you can connect that to your PCIe card slot on your motherboard. So if you can't, if that video card, if the device driver is causing startup problems, how do you verify that? Where do you go to check to see if the device driver is enabled or not in Windows, or the driver has been recognized? So you have options here like A, Device Manager, B, Event Viewer, C, System Information, or D, Task Manager. So in this case, we know that if you go to Device Manager, which I spoke about earlier, you right click on a Start menu, you go to Device Manager here, and you can take a look at your PCIe card. If you have that installed, you can view the drivers on it, make sure it's recognized. So the answer to this question 5 is A, and here. And Event Viewer also basically it will not allow you to do that. If you type Event Viewer in the Start menu, you can basically check to see certain events that's happening, and if something happened in the background of your system, you can basically check to see Event Viewer, which is basically a utility or a component in Windows, which basically allow you to view the event logs in your system, or even you can do that on a remote system as well. So these are the questions that I'm covering today. I hope it's helpful. I'm going to be posting more videos about some of the other topics regarding CompTIA A+. Some of it might be Security Plus and so on. And I'm also going to be talking about data privacy and management. So please feel free to visit my personal website, professorzayed.net, and my business website, aspiretechnj.com. And see you in the next video. Take care.